Now at 11, France on alert.
I feel like it's kind of a target, but at the same time, I feel like there's heightened awareness, heightened security.
A nation searching for answers.
We have to figure out why this is going on.
After senseless attacks. New details on an elaborate plot behind the terror in Paris. 7 News at 11 starts now.
Right now, the people of France in mourning after an unimaginable act of terror. Hundreds taking to the streets to remember the victims of this terror attack that cast a dark shadow over the City of Light.
Tonight, the French government is promising justice for the victims killed in this merciless attack.
Paris targeted by terrorists for the second time this year. More than 120 people were killed, hundreds were injured after multiple attacks that shook the city.
One of the victims, a 23-year-old American college student who was studying abroad for the semester.
And a pianist paying respects at the center of the attacks, breaking out his keyboard and playing a powerful rendition of Imagine by John Lennon.
From the moment the attacks happened, people all over the world have been searching for answers. Tonight, we have team coverage of the terror in Paris from Boston to overseas. We'll bring you the latest. We do begin with Brandon Gano with what we're learning tonight about the attacks.
Nancy, we're learning that the first identified suicide bomber lived in France until at least 2012. The French president saying they will lead the attack and they will be ruthless. New video of a shootout between police and the terrorists. The French president calling the attack an act of war after a night of mass killings. Not seen in Paris since World War II. Bodies on the street. Terror in the air. ISIS claiming it and warning of more attacks. It started with France and Germany playing soccer with millions watching on TV when suddenly an explosion heard across France. A trail of terror had started.
They were not stopping. I mean, they were refueling the guns, they were reloading the guns, and they were very heavily armed.
The National Stadium targeted by 3 suicide bombers. To bars and restaurants where dozens died, 19 in one alone. To the concert hall where 89 were killed. It all took less than 30 minutes. After the first explosion at the soccer stadium, the French president was evacuated. As fans left, they sang the French national anthem. One suicide bomber tried to get through with a ticket, but was stopped and then blew himself up. Then outside the Bataclan concert hall, where the deadliest of the attacks took place, 89 were killed. You could see people running from the theater and hanging out of windows, trying to get away. Dozens escaped onto the roof and were rescued. Mother of 2, Teresa Seed, hid under a dead body for nearly an hour.
I was next to a guy that got shot in the head that fell on me, so I was covered underneath his body.
And then did you pretend to be dead?
Yes.
Were you covered in blood?
Yes.
23-year-old Noemi Gonzalez, a junior at Cal State Long Beach, was studying design in Paris. Friends and family called her Mimi.
This is really happening. This is happening, and there's just nothing I can really do to bring her back.
The French president has declared 3 days of national mourning and put the nation's security at its highest level. In the newsroom, Brandon Gano, 7 News 19.
A startling claim fueling fears in Paris tonight. ISIS says there were 8 gunmen, but the French government says only 7 are dead. Now they're doing whatever they can to track down what may be the last terrorist. Police raids in Belgium less than 24 hours after the attacks in Paris. Multiple arrests and search warrants executed today.
These operations are still ongoing as we speak.
In the hours after the massacre, the French looking for clues and reviewing their intelligence. We now know they had a security file on one of the killers. A former French prosecutor says they have been overwhelmed with people traveling to and from Syria.
We have a long experience. We have, all the structures. But right now, we are facing a new phenomenon.
A French ISIS sympathizer who visited Syria was arrested in August for planning a similar attack. NBC News has learned another in Germany this month had a car loaded with explosives.
It's awful, and I'm afraid it's going to happen again, and it could well happen in other countries, including the United States.
Yesterday, it was Paris for a second time. The concert hall that was the site of the hostage massacre is less than a half-mile from the office of Charlie Hebdo. 12 died in the attack in the newspaper office in January. Parisians shocked today.
We just didn't think that this could happen twice.
A French prosecutor said today 7 attackers are dead. They all wore vests with explosives. But ISIS says there was an 8th attacker who is still on the run. A U.S. counterterrorism official told NBC News it could take days or weeks before the identities and, crucially, the affiliations of the attackers can be traced.
And tonight, we are learning some of the names of the victims of the attacks in Paris. 23-year-old Naomi Gonzalez was studying abroad in France when she was killed in an attack at a Parisian restaurant. She was majoring in design at Cal State Long Beach. Friends and family say she worked hard to carry out her dream to study abroad in France. Nick Alexander was in charge of merchandising for the American band Eagles of Death Metal before he was killed at the concert hall. And lawyer Valentin Ribet was also killed at the concert hall last night. His co-workers describing him as a wonderful personality around the office.
The terror attacks in Paris hitting close to home. Police stepping up security at major events, including at the TD Garden, where the Bruins played the Red Wings tonight. 7 News was there and learned that there were not any threats made, but still security forces were on high alert. The night team's Kimberly Bookman is live at the Garden with more.
Yeah, Dan, you know, the first thing that fans noticed when they came here to TD Garden is the French flag illuminating this building. Immediately, they thought about their own safety.
We stand with France.
Even in an ice rink, at an NHL game an ocean away, prayers are with Paris and thoughts are on stadium security.
I see a lot of police and looks like a lot of safety measures.
Sources tell 7 News that Boston police are increasing patrols and visibility at TD Garden and other locations and events that draw crowds.
It makes me feel better. I'm pretty confident of being, you know, in the New West that we're taking all the steps we need to take to make sure that we're safe.
While law enforcement says there are no specific threats to Boston, security officials at Logan Airport are also keeping updated on intelligence and following a heightened safety plan.
I think it's probably safer now than any other time, so no stress at all.
Bill Fenter showed up hours before his flight to France, a move airlines recommend. While planes continue to fly in and out of the country, they say departure and arrival delays are likely because of stepped-up border security. These pictures on Twitter show long lines at Charles de Gaulle Airport. This Boston-bound passenger stood among them.
It was very chaotic. The airport was crazy. I stayed in line for about 4 hours. Such a long line, I almost passed out.
As people here try to live life as usual, it's clear there is a new normal now.
Be more aware of your surroundings, look around, pay attention, all directions, front, back, side to side, make sure everything's, safe to go.
And tomorrow, the NFL has several football games planned. They say they plan to have more police both in and outside of the stadiums, and they're urging people not to bring bags with them. Reporting live from downtown Boston, Kimberly Bookman, 7 News Night Team.
And Bostonians and tourists adding to a moving tribute that's been growing since the terror attacks last night, sending a powerful message at the French consulate. And that's where we find the Night Team's John Coco joining us now live with more.
Yeah, there have been tributes all over the city, starting here at the French consulate, spreading throughout Boston.
Strong for France.
From the Preux to BU.
Tonight, we gather in peace, in solitary force.
Boston showing its support for France from afar.
On the day that we're thinking so much about Paris, the city.
In Eastie, a sheer coincidence on Paris Street, where a prayer for peace was held.
Because we have just so much sadness going on.
Initially planned to stop youth violence in the city, taking new meaning Saturday night in light of the terror attacks.
We're going to make sure to honor the victims and really all the residents of Paris who are grieving today.
Starting Friday night and continuing into Saturday, people left flowers and messages of solidarity at the building that houses the French consulate in Boston, including Boston Marathon bombing hero Carlos Arendado, who had the French flag flying from the back of his pickup truck.
It's very difficult, but we appreciate, I'm French, okay, and we appreciate.
The gestures connecting with this man and his family who moved to Boston last February from France.
And today, it's my second country, you understand?
He and his children were shaken, watching the tragic details unfold in their home country.
These guys are completely crazy.
It's horrible.
Their only question now, with these most recent attacks, what's next?
It's completely different now.
You can see across the street here, people are out in front of that memorial. It continues to grow and shows no signs of slowing down. We're live in Boston. John Coco, 7 News Night Team.
Up next from the night team, Democrats taking the stage for round 2 with a twist.
Organizations like ISIS are barbaric, ruthless, violent.
This country will rid our planet of this barbarous organization called ISIS.
The hot topic on the agenda tonight, the attacks on Paris, how the candidates handled the tragedy in France.